Hello guys, gals and non-binary pals, welcome back to Lotusbloom Gaming with me, Lotus. I've got a new series called Budget Brew, where we take commanders and try and get them under $50. This one's been a bit more challenging due to it a new release, and it's affecting card prices, so I've had to edit it over the last week. But let's start with the card. Errant Street Artist is 1 blue for a 0/3 human rogue with flash, defender and haste. For 1 and a blue, tap. Copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose new targets for the copy. So a lot of people have asked me how it works, but you copy your copies. So the whole deck is copy, 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 copy. So let's start with a little bit of ramp. In mono blue it's a little bit tricky, so we start with Mind Stone to add extra mana and card draw later in the game when we've got more mana than we know what to do with. Skyclave Relic in the early game is a good mana rock that's indestructible, or we can kicker it to enter the battlefield with 2 tap token copies of it. Sky Diamond, another mana rock for 2 mana that just adds blue. Commander Sphere, 3 mana rock, taps to add 1 mana of blue, and we can sacrifice for cards later if we need to. Silvermere, blue mana dork, and Dreamscape Artist is 1 and a blue, but we can pay 2 and a blue and tap it, discard a card, sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Not tapped, so we can have a little bit of ramp there as well. Also, we can make our spells slightly cheaper with Jace's Sanctum, 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Instant and sorcery spells we cast cost 1 less to cast, and whenever we cast an instant or sorcery, we can scry one. Arcane Melee is 4 and a blue enchantment. Instant and sorcery spells cost 2 colourless less to cast, but that affects everyone on the board. And we have Curious Homunculus, 1 and a blue for a 1/1 Homunculus, which taps to add a colourless. Spend this mana only to cast an instant sorcery spell. But at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 3 or more instants and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, it transforms into the Voracious Reader, which has prowess, but more importantly, instant and sorcery spells we cast cost 1 less to cast. Now we need to get some card draw in. The usual brainstorm, draw 3, put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library is just a little bit of selection. Inspiring Refrain, I'm still surprised is less than 50 cents. For 6 mana, you draw 2 cards, exile it with 3 time counters on it, or you can suspend it for 2 and a blue. Either way, once it starts going, every 3 turns you get to draw 2 cards for free. You just pay the initial setup charge. Then we have Mentor's Guidance for 2 and a blue. Sorcery, when you cast this spell, copy it if you control a Planeswalker, Cleric, Druid, Shaman, Warlock or Wizard. Scry 1, then draw a card. Well, our commander's a wizard, so we get a copy, which will then copy this copy. We also have Pondering Mage, 3 blue for a 3/4 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 of your library, put them back in any order. You may shuffle your library, draw a card. Preordain, single blue, scry 2, draw a card. And then Treasure Cruise, 7 and a blue with Delve, draw 3 cards. And then we have one of the weirder ones, Spell Satchel, for 2 mana artifact with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, put a book counter on the satchel. Remove a book counter, add a colourless, or for 3 and tap, remove 3 book counters and draw a card. I think with the amount of Magecraft being activated, it could be a good mana rock, and some good card draw later. Now let's make some tokens from our casting of all our spells that we're going to be doing. Dika Fractal Theorist, 4 and a blue for a human wizard 3/3 with Magecraft. Whenever we cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, put X +1/+1 counters on it where X is the spell's mana value. Plus we can pay 3 and a blue, target creature token, can't be blocked this turn. Murmuring Mystic, 3 and a blue for a 1/5. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. Trail of Evidence, 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, we investigate. More card draw, so that's always handy. Talrand, Sky Summoner, 2 blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature with flying. And now we get into some of the good stuff of the deck. Let's make those copies. So Curse of Echoes is 4 and a blue. An Aura Curse enchantment for enchant player. Whenever enchanted player casts an instant or sorcery spell, each other player may copy that spell and may choose new targets for the copy they control. And then we get to copy the copies with our commander. Echo Mage, 1 blue for a human wizard. It has level up, so we have to put some mana into it. But once we level it up to level 2, it's blue, tap, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And then if we get 4 or more, blue, tap, copy target instant or sorcery spell twice. And then our commander will copy the copies yet again. Echo Storm, 3 blue, sorcery. When you cast this spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. You may choose new targets for the copies. Create a token that is a copy of target artifact. And you'll see why I chose this, but it could be our mana rocks or something coming up later on. Insidious Will, 2 blue for an instant. We choose one. Counter target spell. That's always good. You may choose new targets for target spell, redirecting something we don't like, or copy target instant or sorcery spell, and we may choose new targets for the copy. Again, we can copy that copy. Meletis Charlatan, 2 and a blue for a human wizard, 2/3, has 2 and blue, tap. The controller of target spell or sorcery spell copies it. That player may choose new targets for the copy. So we can copy our spells or copy the opponent's spells, giving them a copy, and then we can copy that copy if it's our spell. Mirari, 5 colorless legendary artifact. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 3 colorless. If you do, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Mischievous Quantar, 4 and a blue, 3/3 beast. Has morph, 1 blue, and 3 blue to turn it face down. When it's turned face up, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It's almost like there's a theme here. Menumic Deluge, 6 blue. Sorcery, exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Copy that card 3 times. You may cast the copies without paying their mana costs, and exile Menumic Deluge. Moijin of Cryptic Dreams, 5 blue for a spirit 3/3. When it enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand. Remove an indestructible counter from it, copy target permanent you control 3 times. Naru Maya Master Wizard, 2 blue for a human wizard with flash. When it enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Other wizards you control get +1/+1. And we're running quite a few wizards. Psychic Rebuttal, 1 and a blue for an instant. Counter target instant or sorcery spell that targets you. Spell Mastery, if there are 2 or more instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard, you may copy the spell countered this way, and you may choose new targets for that copy. Replication Technique, 4 and a blue, sorcery. Demonstrate, when you cast this spell you may copy it. If you do, choose an opponent to also copy it. Players may choose new targets for their copies. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control. Steamgate Stormcaller, 1 and a blue for a human wizard with kicker for 4 and a blue, 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less. If you cast it this turn, if Steegate Cormo was kicked, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets for the copies. Spell Twine, 5 and a blue sorcery. Exile target instant and sorcery card from your graveyard and target instant and sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. Copy those cards. Cast the copies, if able, without paying their mana costs, and then exile Spell Twine. Split Decision, 1 and a blue instant. Will of the Council. Choose target instant or sorcery spells starting with you. Each player votes for denial or duplication. If denial gets more votes, counter the spell. If duplication gets more votes or the votes is tied, copy the spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And good old Swarm Intelligence, 6 and a blue enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And finally, the Mirari Conjecture, 4 and a blue. For a Saga enchantment, return target instant card from your graveyard to your hand. Number 2 is return target sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. And finally 3. Until end of turn, whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Uo, Silent Prophet, 4 blue for another wizard. It's a 4/4 with flying. Pay 2, return 2 lands you control to their owner's hand. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. And Wizard Spellbook, 5 blue for an artifact. Tap. Exile target instant sorcery card from a graveyard. Roll a d20, activate only as a sorcery. 1 to 9, copy that card. You may cast the copy. 10 to 19, copy that card. You may cast the copy by paying 1 rather than paying its mana cost. 20, copy each card exiled with Wizard Spellbook. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana cost. And then the card that I was saying that we want to copy mostly is the Copy the Copies card, Twinning Staff, for 3 mana artifact. If you would copy a spell 1 or more times, instead copy it that many times plus an additional time. You may choose new targets for the additional copy. 7 and tap. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Because we're in a budget deck, board wipes are kind of limited, so we can't have Cyclonic Rift, but we have some options. We have Ether Spouts, 3 blue for an instant. Put each attacking creature for each attacking creature its owner puts on the top or bottom of their library. Scourge of Fleets, 5 blue. It's a Kraken, 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, return each creature your opponents control with toughness X or less to its owner's hand, where X is the number of islands we control. Engulf the Shore, 3 and a blue for an instant. Return to their owner's hand all creatures with toughness less than or equal to the number of islands you control. And Whelming Wave, 2 blue for a sorcery. Return all creatures to their owner's hands except for krakens, leviathans, octopuses, and serpents, which is a very small pool of creatures. We obviously need some removal because we're not playing a very creature heavy deck. Curse of the Swine, X blue, sorcery. Exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller makes a 2/2 green boar creature token. Raven Form, 2 and a blue, sorcery. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying, and we can foretell for a blue. Imprisoned in the Moon, 2 and a blue, enchantment aura. Enchant a land or planeswalker or creature. Enchanted permanent is a colourless land with adds colourless and lose all other card types and abilities. And a new card, Witness Protection, single blue, aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature lose all abilities and is a green and white citizen creature with base power and toughness 1/1, named Legitimate Business Person. We have Resculpt, 1 and a blue, instant, exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. Reality Shift is another instant for 1 and a blue. Exile target creature, its controller manifests the top card of their library. And March of Swirling Mist, X and blue, instant, As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of blue cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Up to X target creatures phase out. Then we can protect ourselves by countering the spells we don't like. Rewind, 2 blue, counter target spell, untap up to 4 lands. Dispel, counter target instant spell, and negate, counter target non-creature spell. For a little bit of utility, we have Psychic Spiral, 4 and a blue instant, shuffle all cards from your graveyard into your library, target player puts that many cards from the top of their library into their graveyard to recycle our deck. Invoke the Winds, 1 and 4 blue, gain control of target artifact or creature and untap it. Muse Vortex, X blue, exile the top X cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value X or less from among them without paying its mana cost. Then put the exiled instant or sorcery cards that weren't cast this way into your hand and the rest onto the bottom of your library in a random order. And Archaeomancer, 2 blue, for another human wizard, 1/2, when it enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Dazzling Sphinx, 3 blue, for a creature Sphinx 4/5 with flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then that player puts the exile cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of their library in a random order. Dilvuvian Primordial, 5 blue, for an avatar 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you may cast up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If a spell cast this way would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. And Guile, 3 blue, Elemental Incarnation, 6/6. Can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. If a spell or ability you control would counter a spell, instead exile that spell and you may play that card without paying its mana cost. When Guile is put into our graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into our library. Little bit of mill protection and copy effects. But more importantly, let's try and win. We've done a lot of copying, but let's win. Sphinx Bone Wand, 7 mana artifact. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may put a charge counter on Sphinx Bone Wand. If you do, it deals damage equal to the number of charge counters on it to target creature or player, which I now believe is any target. Tidespout Tyrant, 5 blue, for a Jin, 5/5 with flying. Whenever you cast a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand. That be lands, creatures, tokens, anything. Let's try and clear the board and then swing through on an empty board with all our tokens. The lands, very simple. Halimar Depths, enters tapped. When it enters, look at the top 3 cards, put them back in any order. Mystic Sanctuary, when it enters, you may put a target instant sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library if it comes in untapped. And Myriad Landscape, just to ramp us a little bit more. And then just to round it out, 33 basic islands, just to keep the budget low. What are your thoughts? I had to cut a lot of cards over the last week. It had Lithoform Engine when I first started and other cards in there that were quite reasonably priced, but since this card's come out, they've kept creeping up over my £50 limit. So when you're watching this and it's crept over $50, that's probably why. But what would you add to upgrade it? What would you change? And did you like what I did? Do you like me reading the cards? Or do you want me just to tell you what the cards are to keep it shorter? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and listening. Like and subscribe. And all my links for my Patreon, Discord and other supported items are in the links below. Thanks everyone. Bye.